Hi everyone, I'm Robbie Herring and I'm here tonight for Flying Unicorn. I'm really glad to be here and glad to see some familiar faces and glad y'all came. We're going to start out tonight with some announcements. The first thing is that the items that are used in this class you can find in the Flying Unicorn store. All you need to do is look under the Ustream special and they will be 10% off tonight. We've got lots of new petaloo flowers in the store and Santoro Gorgeous Stamps and Papers. Those are from Britain. They're new in the store. And a big surprise that tomorrow Prima is being added. So you want to keep your eye out for that. You might want to watch the hip checking because a lot of people will be there. I know that I have tried to order things and they've disappeared from my cart. Tonight we're going to have a rack and she's going to give away, Alda's going to give away a full collection of the Pion Day in May collection. That's what we're going to be using tonight. So hang around till the end and they'll choose a winner. And then the other thing is to make sure that you subscribe to our Ustream channel. We're here every Wednesday at 9 with a lot of different designers and different ideas. So thanks again for being here and let's get started. Bear with me while I move my camera. A little bit higher. Okay, well, it doesn't want to line up, but here we go. Okay, can y'all see it? All right, here's the layout we're going to be making. When Alda asked me to do the class, after I said yes, I thought, uh-oh, what am I going to make? And so I decided to go with just what I do. And if you've followed my style and my blog at all, you know that I very seldom make a page without ribbon on it. So here's what we're going to do, and here's some close-ups so you can see. And yes, I am nervous because my hands are shaking a little bit. So we'll hope I can tie bows tonight. And then here's some more. And this is the Pion May Day collection. And it is beautiful greens. I hope y'all can see the color there. And there's lots of florals in it. So let's get started. Okay, I have a new trimmer because my favorite one died. So this one is Day in May Apple Blossom. We're going to cut off the selvage of it. Simple. And then this is the photo we're going to be using. Isn't this sweet? And this is printed kind of a strange size. I print all my own photos and I like the 3.5 by 5 a lot, but it just seemed a little large for what I was doing. So this one is 2 3/4 by 4. And we're going to mat it. So let's go ahead while I have the trimmer out and let's do the matting. And if I can find the thing. All right. This we're just going to cut a little bit bigger. And I know that some of the girls have said over these last few months when I've been watching things that they just kind of eyeball things. Well, I'm going to admit that I'm a ruler girl. So we're going to cut this 3 3/4 by 4 4 1/4 because we want it a little bit larger. And this is the brown from A Day in May, and this one is called Brown Ornament. And then we're going to cut this one 3 by 4. All right. And that is all the paper cutting we're going to do tonight. So, there we go. Now, one thing I like to do, a lot of people really like to ink their edges, and I do too sometimes, but lately I'm liking just to kind of rough them up a little bit with my scissors. And I don't have a fancy distress tool. I keep saying I'm going to buy one, and I haven't. but the edges of your scissors will work just as well as pretty much everything else. May just take a second longer. All right, and we've got a mess. Okay, and this one I'm going to just go ahead, and I like the ATG gun. This stuff, you have to own it, because once you stick it, it is there. So here we go. And let's see, I think I actually got that too small. I did, which is pretty typical. Let's start that one again. Actually, let's just cut the stuff off, the edges off the photo for this one. They don't have to be exactly alike. See, so measuring doesn't always work either. But instead of recutting and redistressing, we'll just do this. I do, as a rule, like to have a little bit of white around my photo. Whoops. New trimmers are interesting too. All right. And then I learned this tip from another designer. I was spending a fortune on foam dots. And after watching a few of these shows, I learned about how easy it is to use cardboard for this. And one thing, if you haven't done this, that I really like about it, is that when you put it in your books, it's not going to end up all bumpy because you've got a more solid surface. And I was going so far, whoops, I'm out of the thing, huh? I'm using Fabri-Tac for this. I know we all have our favorites of this too, and this one's mine. And one thing that I found before, I was going so far as to put transparencies behind my photos and then use foam dots so I wouldn't get that, so I wouldn't have that problem. So you can see this is just going to lay here. All right, now this one we're going to do the ribbon over the top. So we're going to go ahead and place the mat first. And we're going to do it about right here. Now normally, I have to admit, I would be measuring to make sure this is even, but this one is a striped paper, which makes it perfect because I can just line the edges along the stripes in the paper. All right, so here is my favorite thing, is ribbon. This one is a Basil Basics ribbon that I have had forever, and you can see this is going to be its last hurrah because this is all I have left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this, I would say probably about 14 inches, because I'm going to want to tuck it over the top, and I'm also going to want to trim the bottom after I tie the bow. And the thing I really like about this ribbon, and I think it's important to know that certain ribbons tie bows much easier than others. And this one is, you can tell just from the video that it's really soft. And I'll say that when you're learning to tie a bow, that the softer the ribbon, the more give it has, the easier it is to manipulate. So this one, because I want it to be gathered here, I'm just going to tie it over here. Like so. Now, I'm always surprised when I'm told that someone doesn't tie bows and want to know how to do it. And I really thought about how to break it down for tonight because it's one of those things you kind of do. And basically this is nothing more than a glorified shoestring bow. And so you're going to make a loop and you're going to go around and you're going to push it through. No problem. Now, what I do like to do though, and where I think it kind of changes a bit, is I like to place one at the top, one tail at the top, one at the bottom. And this one has a knot, so that makes it pretty easy. You can use your thumbs to kind of squeeze it together. and you're going to place it the way you like it. And then the other thing is, it's kind of harder to tie bows when you're nervous because your hands aren't quite as steady. At least mine aren't. All right. So if you look too, one thing to kind of show you up close is that I'm going to straighten this up. But if you really look at it, you can see that, to me, to make them pretty, instead of the tails sitting on top, they kind of sit beside. So that's why I kind of pull it a bit, and you can get your gathers pretty by putting your thumb inside and pulling on that. So there's one bow. Oops. And here. And we're going to place it. Now, for ribbon, one thing I really like is the ATG gun to attach this. If it's a flat ribbon, a good go-to tool is your, like if you have a Xyron X or something. But like this with a bow, it's much easier to just use the ATG gun because you can literally just pull down it. For a lot of ribbons, if they're not very stiff, the glue will show through, and I've had that happen many times. And this one is just going to be placed here at the bottom, about right here, I think is where I did it. Simple. And I'm not going to glue down the bow part until I've got all my placement for sure. All right, so there's one. The other thing that I really like about these ribbons is that all three of the ribbons I used on this project, they're double-sided. And that's another thing when you're learning and figuring out what you like to do and how you like to do it. If you're using a double-sided ribbon, there's no having to twist to get it right. This one I'm going to say is probably about, I don't know, 8 inches. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. All right, so typical shoestring. Can't get hold of this one, it's pretty small. And I'm making sure that it's like on top, that it's straight. That one is a little bit short. Hang on. Actually, to save time, I'm just going to do another one a little bit longer. Give myself, that's another thing, give yourself a little bit of room to work, because most ribbons are pretty inexpensive, and this one is from Hobby Lobby, and I don't know if y'all go there or have them, but they're always on sale for half off. And I love that because you can pick up a bolt of, I think it's 3 or 4 yards, or it's 5 yards for $1. And so it's a very inexpensive way to do that. I'm just going to switch pieces because this one's better. Same thing. Can't hold on to this skinny one tonight. All right. Now, same thing. We're going to get it to where the tails are going opposite ways. Okay, here we go. Now I got it. Tighten it up. And we're going to do it this way. Going to shorten it to where we want it. We're going to trim these. And on this one, I like that we're going to have a third little tail. So we'll end up having a little more going on there, because this I used really as kind of my main point of interest on this layout to frame this photo. Do y'all have your favorite scissors? All right, so this one, same thing. We're going to use the ATG gun. And I'm sure there's a real name for this thing, but gun works for me. And I'm going to go ahead and place it. I think it was about right here. And if you'll see, what I'm doing is I'm getting it to where this whole thing is going to frame this photo. All right, one more like this, and then we'll switch to the other way, how to tie it without a thing in the middle. This one I got a little long, it's about 12 inches, but we can trim it to where we want. I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way. And y'all should know too, I normally do this in my lap. So I'm trying, if I go out, I've got a friend that's going to text me if I accidentally do that to tell me to put it back in the picture. All right, so see, everything's flat. We're going to wrap it over and come up behind. There's our base. Make sure everything's straight. My tails are in the right place. See? And I want it to be beside. It's amazing. This one's only 1/4 of an inch wider than the other, and it makes it so much easier to hold it. All right, we're going to trim. Same thing on this one. We're going to use it. We're going to trim 3 sides. Straighten it up. And you can give this a pretty good tug. Some ribbons will stretch, like if you're using a shear, you might damage it, so you want to be a little more gentle. But on these, it's really not a problem. And I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter. Whoops. See, I told you this stuff sticks. It's trying to stick without me. Okay. So, now this one, it's not going to show, so I'm just going to cut it off short that way. And I keep trying to look at the chat, and I just can't multitask that way. So, all right. Now we're going to put the picture down. And one thing too about using the ATG, it's tough, but like if you're wanting it to really stand the test of time, you're going to get an extra little help here from the glue. And I'm just going to tuck it all in here and place it. And I'm going to cheat this way a little bit because this side's going to be covered with flowers anyway. So my little undercut there shouldn't be a problem. All right. Now we're going to do, up at the top here, I did the little Prima frames hanging from the ribbons. And this is kind of a neat little cheat, is that, let me show you this. If you look at this, it looks like I tied them on. I didn't. I just gave it the look of that. And I'm not even going to bother tying the bows to these pieces of ribbon because I'm going to cover the end anyway. So here is how, without tying the knot. And got glue on my fingers. And this is, to me, a little bit easier. So you're going to make a loop. And then I always fold it. So in the back, you can see that I have folded it. I hope y'all can see this. And then you're going to go over the top. You're going to go through. All right. And so then we have this. And here we go. All right. Now we're going to place the tail again. This is that skinny ribbon. Have some patience. All right. And I'm going to straighten it out while my thumbs are in it before I tighten it. Here we go. So see, you can kind of see here that everything's placed side by side instead of on top of each other. Tighten it up. We're going to make it a little bit smaller. And y'all should know I will sometimes I'll manipulate these for way longer than we probably have tonight for me to mess with it. And you can see I'm pulling pretty hard. All right. On these little guys, I like the tails not to be too long. All right, there's that one. So you can see we're going to place it. Still not feeling this one too much. See? Excuse me. This one is going to be with the tails down. And that happens. Which with the frame actually works just fine. All right, this one we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fake it. This time it'll probably be a little easier if I remember to cut it off the bolt this time. All right, here we go. So we're going to do a loop. We're going to do a fold. And we're going to do here. And here's just something to think about. If you do, if the ribbon you choose is double-sided and you want to do it, this is the point that you would just twist it. You don't have to with this one, but you would just give it a twist in the back. And that way when you thread it through, you still have the right, like, I don't know, I'm a sucker for polka dots. And so you would still have the right side showing, and that would include the tails. So just give it a twist after you do the loop, and that'll give you that. I'm telling you, that 1/4 of an inch makes a huge difference in this ribbon. I didn't tell y'all, this one is American Crafts ribbon. All right, this one, the tails are in the right place. Okay, so here is our basic placement. And there is a reason that I'm not putting that down yet. I'm going to set it aside, but that's the basic thing. And I'm just going to scoot it out of the way because I do know that sometimes I end up making a big mess with the glue. All right, so now we're going to do the frames. This is a piece of paper by Pion that I used for the frame to put inside these frames because I wanted something, I didn't want them just blank. I wanted something pretty hanging from them. And the photo was outdoors, so I thought these were perfect for it. And these frames are from Prima. And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I just want to keep them and not use them. But I'm using them because they are so pretty and they're so easy to use. All right. Now, these you can see here with the tags. And I have myself a little piece of paper here because I will tell you a secret, even though it's probably not a secret. This was excuse me. When I was practicing last night, I realized I had a big glare. So I went to my mother's house because she's a quilter, and I took her mat. So this is one of my mother's quilting mats that I snagged for tonight's show, and I'm going to have to break down and buy myself one. But as you can see, I used the Fabri-Tac on the back, and I literally just laid it on top. And then, just choose what you want. And then I just cut it out. And what you want to do is just cut close. And it doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see. Even though I'm a ruler girl, sometimes you just do what's easy, and none of the back is going to show anyway. So here we go. Oh, I keep wanting to go off, sorry. Working in a little different position doing this. All right, so here's one frame. See how nice these little tag pieces sit in there? So pretty. All right, and then we're gonna do all three of these. All right, if you get a little bit in there, just move it. This stuff is horrendous for your fingernails because it is an acetone base. So if your nails are done, you probably want to try not to touch it. And just a tip for those of y'all that I figured out, I think someone told me, but if I go through it enough that I don't really have a problem with it drying out, but there have been, oh, wrong scissors. There have been a couple of times that I have, and you can put a little bit of acetone, like fingernail polish remover, in it and make it, and thin it up. Just shake it real good. So that's kind of a neat little thing about it. All right, here you can see this one. The little nest. These have such precious little designs in them. And then this one, it almost seems a waste, but I couldn't resist using this little flower on this postcard here. So sweet. All right. And if you wonder why I said wrong scissors, it's almost worn off. But I get so irritated when I go to pick up a pair of scissors to cut my ribbon or my fabric, and they don't work well because I've used them on paper. So I try really hard to keep them separate. And these, thank goodness, are non-stick. So you can just peel this glue right back off of it, which makes it really easy. And just a helpful hint, if you have a lot of hair, it will peel out of your hair too, because unfortunately, I know all about that. All right, here. All right, here we go. Now these, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the ATG gun and set the ribbon. Sorry if you can hear my phone ringing. I'm ignoring it. Oops. And we're going to set them here. And what we're going to do, remember I said we're going to kind of cheat for this. The other thing too is this gun will hold when you fold it behind, but sometimes I'll just even use just a little piece of Scotch tape will work. Excuse me. So we're going to place both of these. Like so. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this, seeing kind of where I put it last time. They're not exactly the same, it's not a problem. All right. And this bow got a little bit big for this little frame. Okay, so now we're going to place our frames. And these, see, I didn't ever show y'all the back. See what I said? They're not perfect, but it's hidden. Nobody will see it. I thought everybody knew I was trying to do a show, but I guess somebody forgot. Either that or it was probably a sales call. All right, so I'm just going to place this here with glue, and see I'm holding it down. And then I should have that paper out. Hopefully I won't get glue anywhere. We're just going to give it the illusion that it's hanging there. And nobody's the wiser. And this one, same thing. All right. And we're going to do this little bow, the irritating bow. I think I can fix it. Probably ought to just leave well enough alone. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm just going to leave well enough alone. If y'all are like me, there is no perfection here. I have been known to look at a layout a few months later even and think, what in the world was I thinking? All right, and this one we're just going to place here up at the edge, and that is why I love the cardboard. It's also about the same depth as these, so it makes this super easy to place. I think I'm making good time too. I wasn't sure how long this would take, because when you're doing it on your own time, you're not necessarily just sitting down and truly doing it. Frankly, I'd probably be answering that phone call. All right, so here's our base. Get off the little wood. Super simple, you can see. And then the reason I left these the way they are is because I didn't want to put them down until I got the flowers on. And these are petaloo flowers, and these are in the store. I just love these. They're so pretty. They're made out of canvas. And we're going to grab 2 of them. All right. And then I'm losing my map. Hopefully y'all can still see. All right. And these also, let's see what I do with them. I pre-cut these just because I figured that I didn't want to, it was hard enough to be pulling out some of my, like my big old honking trimmer. And I thought that to pull out what is it, a big kick would be also something else that I had to deal with. So I went ahead and pre-did the leaves. And these are these Prima die cuts. And I don't know if y'all have these, but they are awesome. And I don't own one yet, but I know that Alda tries to keep in stock. I don't know if it's in stock right now, the tool from We Are Memory Keepers to make the insides come out. But what I've also found is if you cut 2 at a time, at least one of them comes out with any inside already in it. So that was kind of a neat little thing. And what I like to do with leaves, and I did 4 leaves, so I'm just going to do them all together. I like to give them a little dimension and just roll my finger along them and roll them. And we're going to put them behind the flowers. And there's really no true rhyme or reason sometimes, but these are so pretty, you definitely want the whole thing to show. And then we're going to tuck it down. And here's why I did not glue this down, is because I wanted to be able to tuck the flower here and then place that. We're going to turn it here a little bit. But see how you get a little bit of dimension in those leaves? And here's the other thing too, is I can just tuck that right under there. I don't think I used quite enough glue, but it's good for now. Then we're going to do the same thing with this one. Got a little closer to the edge this time too. I think I definitely needed my ruler for this. Okay, that was a text telling me to stay in camera view. And I knew that I would probably do that because, like I said, I'm not quite in the same position. I'm going to add a little bit more glue to this one. And I think it's awesome how we learn little tricks from each other and all the videos I've watched. And one thing is, I think it was Jen shared on the flying unicorn thing that when you get a string, if you let it dry, you can kind of, you can take a paper towel and pull it off. And I thought that is such a neat thing to know because I did not know that. So these we're just kind of gathering them here. like so. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue here and go ahead and place it. And you can see I'm kind of pushing it down, and that lets it, for one, it'll let it stay in place, but for another, it kind of pops it up and gives it a little dimension on its own. And this one, I like where it's at for the most part. I'm going to shorten it up a little bit because it's a little bit taken away from the baby's head. Straighten it up a touch. Trim it down just a touch. I don't know about y'all, but they're always a work in progress. And sometimes I really like to just do them and not glue them for a day or when I go to bed, because quite often I'm doing this in the evening, and take a peek at them in the morning and see if I still like everything. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and glue this one because it all is sitting the way I like it. And I'm good with this tail being loose, but you can always, and I'm going to do it tonight just to show you, you can always take just a little bit of the ATG tape and put it, and there we go. All right, now we have a couple more flowers I want to add, and these are also Petaloo, and they're also canvas, and I never know what any of these are called, but I do know I got them in the store, so hopefully Alda has some. And I know they're sharing links with y'all. So these I'm going to use a couple of these like this. And then, because I didn't have much green left, and I didn't want to open something new. I don't know about y'all, but my flowers, I know some people don't like leaves, and I've actually seen people cut them off. I am the polar opposite. I want leaves. So these were so pretty. They matched the paper, they matched my photo, and I decided to take one of these extras and cut off a few of the petals in the back for leaves for my canvas flowers. And I do like the way that gave me a little bit of green in some other places. Oh, I'm sorry, I probably went out of the range again. Can't get a hold of that. Maybe that, if I put it down on the thing, I'll quit pulling it towards me. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. I've got a mess over here beside me. Just going to go ahead and add some extra glue because we know where these are going. Now, if you don't know where they're going, you could just add a little bit and wait till they're dry for your placement. But since this is a redo, we know where they're going. Okay, and see, just a little bit of green here, and they're not exactly leaf shaped, but they're certainly close. And then these are gonna go right here in this corner. Hold it down a second and let it grip hold. Maybe get rid of some stuff over here too. All right, so here we go. Now, same thing with these small ones, is I did the same thing, but in this one, and yes, I have to admit, I am demolishing this one flower, but I think it's for a good cause. And this one, since they're little, I'm doing kind of size appropriate. So I'm doing a layer up here on the top that I'm grabbing some of these. And as you can see, these are certainly not truly leaf shape, but we're going for the look. Let that sit there a bit. And here's this one. Scoot that in a bit more. All right. And this one, we're working with the up here at the top on this little section. And so I'm just going to put it here. And then this one, I put down a little bit lower. It's going to kind of be on it, but it's going to just be tucked in here. Whoops. And I've got more glue on my fingers than I do on the back, evidently, so I'm pulling it off. And because this is all still kind of damp, you can place it a little bit. I even have a string. There we go. All right, so that is the flowers. And you can see what's left here. And you could do a couple of things with it. You'd still have a center if I cut off this extra. And what I'll probably do is, because now I have 2 packages of them, so I'll probably also save this webbed one. I think these are neat looking. They'll make a real pretty little accent to something. So those are the flowers. And now, let's see, buttons. We're going to add the buttons. Actually, you know what? Before we add the buttons, let's do the title thing so it can be drying a little bit. This is just a little wood piece from, it's from Prima. I think it's from the Optimist collection. And I don't know if y'all have ordered those or bought those, but they have so many pieces in it. And I go back and forth. I mean, it's just kind of a go-to thing. I use them, and it's so fun to be able to just go in and grab a frame or grab a cute little title. And this, I use just the Resist Chalk Edger knotted wood. And I really like these Resist Chalk Edgers because, I went the nail, because they will do on the resin. They do on so many things. And so see, super simple. Saved my mom's mat by using my paper. All right, and these are Prima wood buttons. And I actually, see, I got these on sale at Hobby Lobby. And I used some from this package. Let's clean up this. When you cut out the canvas over it, it kind of makes a little bit of a mess. All right, and we're just going to choose 3. And these, I just love these. Let me see what collection these are, just so you'll know. They're tea time. And I have a friend that won't hardly use hers. I use mine. These are pretty, see? And I think I'm going to use a heart again. Actually, I like this one. Actually, let's go with the pink. I think that's pretty. We'll give it a little bit of different color. So we'll go with pink ones for this one. Okay, here's the 3 we're going to use. See these? With the roses? Aren't they pretty? All right. I do not like my buttons without thread, I have to admit. And I find that I can thread it through because these are wide, but if you put a needle on it, it just makes it so much easier. So we're going to do that real quick. And I like to give it a couple of loops because these are wider holes. See, a little knot in the back. Definitely not reinventing the wheel here. Whoops. Except I really seriously need to get all this glue off me. I don't know about y'all, but I tend to be pretty messy when it comes to the glues. All right, so there's one. And by cutting it long, I'm able to not have to keep rethreading. All right, see, that gives it a little thicker than just once. Okay, all that I see, I'm trying to glance at the chat while I'm doing this, and you don't use them and you have that many. I think I know somebody who you can always feel free to mail them to. Buffy, I love vintage buttons too. In fact, I love buttons of any kind. And I was really lucky several years ago, a lady, her mother's button collection, it was in a tin, and she wasn't really into buttons, but she knew I loved them. And so she gave me these beautiful, they're like mother of pearl. They're just stunning. All these beautiful buttons. And I actually ended up using 2 big ones, but I'm good with that. And we're going to place these. And this has a knot on it, but this ribbon, I mean, this glue, sorry, let me clean that. It'll take care of that. It'll still glue even with the knot on it. It'll still glue fairly flat if you just push it down a sec. We're going to tuck a couple of these in. Just in a few little places. Kind of like the pink. I was looking, the last one I used was kind of yellow. So you can see there, and we're going to go ahead and add the title. This page is almost done. I wondered how long it would take, and I think we're doing pretty good. And I just added a little because these are so lightweight that it doesn't need a lot. And this is why I always have glue on my hands, because I'm just touching it where I had some strings underneath. And then I'm going to place it right here. And that covers that. And then I did one more little detail. And these, as we all know, sequins are totally the rage right now. You're seeing them everywhere. And these, I just got a little bowl just so I could see them. These, I'm not even sure the name of the place I got them, but they're just a real pale green that matches beautifully. And I'm going to put, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to see if I can work out the bowl. And then to do the sequins, I really like this. This Tombow, it's Mono Aqua liquid glue. I'm telling y'all, I've had this for years, but it holds really well and it dries super clear. And it's got 2 tips. So you could do with this little brush, but I probably have so much left because what I love about it is this little tiny tip. And to do the sequins, I just wanted to scatter them. And it dries quickly, but not ridiculously so. And I literally am just going to dot this in a few places. As you can see, very random. And these sequins are itty bitty. I don't even know if you can see it really well in the camera, but how tiny that is with the tip of that. And I dropped it. No, I'm going to do better if it's on the deal. All right. And then this will dry totally clear and not take hardly any time at all to do because it'll grab. The other thing, this glue, I love when you do the baker's twine. Whoops, missed. And this, you can just draw your line, like I've used it for like some butterfly trails or what have you. And this will dry so clear, and your baker's twine just grabs on really well. Whoops. See, I even have glue on my tweezers now. I hope y'all aren't all super neat, because if you are, I will probably drive you crazy with how messy I think I need a couple more over here, with how messy I am with glues. I'm pretty neat. I like my room to be neat, but when I'm creating, I'm making a mess. I think I may have to get glasses here soon if I'm going to use these very much. All right, same thing here. We're just going to put some random little dots here. Okay, that one doesn't want to stick. And you can see these aren't necessarily straight or anything of the sort. And then let's do just a couple over here, or we'll do 3. And then I know I scattered a few here and there. All right. My belt is grabbing my chair. Hang on. All right. So see, I just like the little extra shine. You could use pearls. You wouldn't have to use sequins or little beads. I love all the little seed beads. And it seems like they're coming out with every color and always something new. You could even do little, this glue is so like fine, leaves such a teeny drop. You could even do tiny little glitter, you know, if that's what you have in your stash available, it'd work great. It just gives it a little bit of sheen. And I'll tell you, these go a long way. Even though I keep using them, you can't even tell that any are missing yet. All right, there you go. And that is it, y'all. So I'll put it down where you can see the whole thing. And see how the glue, so you already really can't even see that there's glue there. There we go. So super simple layout. And I hope y'all liked it. Now y'all bear with me. I'm going to come back up to my face again so we can talk about the giveaway. Oh, camera doesn't want to go. I'll tell y'all, when I did this the other night, the whole thing flipped upside down. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Not exactly straight, but doable. Okay. Hi again. So hope y'all liked it tonight and hope you learned a few things, you know, picked up a couple of tips for, you know, from what I did. So thankful y'all are here. I really appreciate it. And for bearing with me whenever I had a mess up on my matting. But you can see it's not a huge tragedy when that happens. It still doesn't ruin your page. So hang in there if you have that, because I have it happen all the time. All right, and I know we're giving away a rack tonight with the Mayday collection. So I'm not sure who's doing that. So I'm going to let y'all, I assume that Alda's doing that. I can't really see the chat so well. I see somebody's talked about lifting it. if you lift mine, I love seeing them. Feel free to, send me a Facebook message or whatever, or tag me. So anyway, so thanks so much for coming. I'm so glad you're here. And don't forget that next month or next week we have, I'm not sure I know who we have next week. But anyway, next week at 9 o'clock we'll be back. And I know that our guest designer is Gabrielle Polacco this month. And so there'll be some neat things, some new things from her that we're seeing with the reveals. And uh, and the design team has just outdone themselves. So be sure to drop by and look at the forums to see the sneaks. Thanks so much.